Alright, let me see where I left off at. Alright. Jump it off right here. The journey from Lower Egypt of the mythos through the deserts of Amentu was from west to east, from the place of sunset to the point of sunrise, which was called the Solar Mount of Glory. At sunset, on her Shu upraised his mansion of the starry firmament, which he uplifted nightly, standing on the steps of the Kemet. This is presented a stellar picture. This is presented a stellar picture of the Upper Egypt, or the Upper Paradise, for which the wanderers in the wilderness was bound. At dawn, the mount of the sunrise and the garden eastward was attained. This was the mountain of Amenta, also called Shinu or Shini, Sinai, Shinu. In Egyptian signifies the point of turning in the orbit of the solar course. This point was figured on the mountain where the lines rested as supporters of the solar disk at dawn, or Shu uplifted Ra from out the darkness of Amenta and held the orb aloft with his two hands. At this point, on her place as leader of the chosen people was taken by his alter ego Shu. The magic papyrus describes the warrior god as king of the Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, and his two characters of Anher and Shu Shira. So Anher would basically be, as I was saying in the previous videos, the process that the light went through in creation of the sun. And Shu Shira would be after the sun is shot at the center of the earth and raises on the eastern horizon to travel through the sky and sun, and then set on the west. By night, Shu on her was the uplifter of the firmament for the Egyptian exodus, or coming forth today from out of darkness of Amenta, or of Egypt in the desert. Under the name of on her, he is the leader of the upper heaven, rod in hand. Sharad, right here. Really want to get jiggy, you can get the arms, rod. But really, this the rod right here, though. Boom, boom. So, historic image probably was seen as Regulus in the constellation of Cepheus. The ruler there arrested with the rod or staff still lifted in his hand. So, arrested with the rod, or staff still lifted in his hand. So, when it said arrested, that's another way of just saying frozen or stiff or whatnot. Arrested. So that'll be dealing with, because this right here, you'll read when you read Ancient Egypt, Black of the World, Volume 1 and 2, you'll come to a point that they talk about the bandaged arm. This is the bandaged arm. It's just like if you take a cast and wrap around somebody's arm to be stiff. This is the stiffness right here. And then when the sun is born from out of here, comes from out of here, the light from the sun will shine through there. And when they say he's holding them, when the sun, let me go back to it. The ruler there arrested with the rod or the staff still lifted in his hand. That'll be the sun, basically. What they talking about right here, they talking about a particular constellation, but you can also look at that as the sun with the when the sun comes out, when the light is shooting up through here, it's like the sun is holding this rod in his hand. So he repels the crocodile or dragon coming out of the abyss. The crocodile that is the dragon of Egypt and the pharaoh of the Hebrew writers. And see, that's the thing about the fact. See, what what the Israelis did, or the fake Jews, what they did was they painted a picture as if Egypt was evil, when in all actuality that wasn't the case. That's why they try to. That's why when you read it, they say Pharaoh, but they don't say which Pharaoh, because it wasn't no historical Pharaoh. The Pharaoh actually represented many different things. But one thing that the Pharaoh represented is an oppressive ruler. So the Pharaoh, by us, by black people in America being the true Hebrews, the Pharaoh to us would be the oppressive government, the quote unquote elites or whatever, and or whatnot. I just want to slide that in there real quick. So let me see. On her is the Lord of the Scimitar. Now the Scimitar, it's like I think you see that a lot in Arabia. It's the blade that's shaped like this here. It comes like this, then it'll come like that, then it'll come back over like that. You've probably seen it in movies or some shit like that. But that's the Scimitar right there. He is designated smiting double horns. Double horns. You know, you got 7 mountains, but when you split it down the middle, you got 2, one on each side. That's the horns or whatever, or the Great Pyramid in the middle. Then you have the 2 on the side and Kemet or whatever, the horns of the earth. So let me see. The twofold character of On Her is indicated when he is described as the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Shusirah. This was the Egypt of Amenta. Thus, as the king of Lower Egypt, he was On Her, the uplifter of the firmament for the chosen people to come forth. At daybreak, he assumed the character of Shu, the son of Ra, who lifted up the solar disk at the dawn on the horizon, otherwise upon the Mount of Sunrise. As Regulus on the horizon in the zodiac, the leader of the mains changed to Shu, who was then called the double abode of Ra. The magic papyrus, which contains the hymn of the god Shu, is called the chapter of excellent songs which dispel the submerged. And basically what that is, the excellence song which dispels the submerged. That's the word, the vibration which dispels or breaks up the light that is flooded throughout the circumference as it retracts to the outer edge or whatever. That's the logos, the word, the vibration that's taking place as the process is occurring, breaking up or dispelling the submerged. The submerged would be those particles of light that breaks up within that right there, the fractured light or whatever, dispelled. So it is a celebration of the great victory over the apex reptile and all dangerous animals lurking in the depths of the mythical Red Sea. It is said to Shu in the hymn, "Thou leadest to the upper heaven with the rod and that name which is thine up on her. Thou repellest the crocodile coming out of the abyss, in the name of which is thine repeller of crocodiles." And the crocodiles coming up out of the abyss will basically be the mountains rising up out of when all the light was down here and the dark was up here, the light was pushing up as it made its way to the center. Those mountains coming up will be the crocodiles or whatever. The crocodile, of course, is the dragon of Egypt. The wicked are overthrown by Anhor, the valiant, as the lord of events. His sister Tefnut accompanies him. Tefnut is the water. Shu is the wind that's whipping everything around. Tefnut is the water that's rising up, the light water rising from the dark water, ascending up in a whirlwind. She is the form of Sekhet, the goddess in her fury, the chastiser of the wicked. She gives up fire against his enemies and reduces them to non-existence. She is the Camite prototype of Miriam, the sister of Moses. Tefnut accompanies her brother in his battles with the Cebu in the submerged. Elsewhere, she changes her shape into a weapon of war. Well, how does she change herself into a weapon of war? Simple. Hold up. Boom. And all that light retracts up into here, she turns into a bow and arrow. All the light goes up and concentrates up in here, and this becomes an amalgamation of all 7 of these plus the one that was already there. The 8 and the 8 and the 1, that becomes the 8 and the 1. What happens when all that light comes up here? She shoots the spark down, boom. Then shoots the fireball light. This is the arrow. If you read, I think it's in this book, I think it's in Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, you'll read about, they got a temple dedicated to Isis on the island of Philae in Kemet. And in that temple they have a hieroglyph of, I think a hieroglyph of her holding a bow and arrow or holding the arrow or whatever. So when all that rises up and all the light is concentrated up here, leaving blackness and darkness down here and leaving the surface dark with the specks of light in it, that's the Apep dragon. That's the Set and his Cebu. In order to overthrow Set or destroy Set or check Set, she turns into an arrow, bow and arrow, boom, shoots the spark down, shoot the fireball down, cause the water to rise up and put an end to the drought that takes place on the surface. Just becomes flooded with water and or whatnot. That's how she changes. When they say she changes herself into a weapon, that's what they pertain to. That's what that pertains to. She gives fire against his enemies, shooting that fire down, great balls of fire. Tefnut accompanies her brother in his battles with the Cebu and the submerged. Okay, we said that. Elsewhere, she changes her shape into a weapon of war. She shouts her defiance against the wicked conspirators, exclaiming, "I am Tefnut, thundering against those who are annihilated forever, and against those that remain floating on the waves like dead bodies on the inundation." Just as it was on that day when Israel saw the Egyptian dead upon the seashore. I am Tefnut, thundering against those who are annihilated forever, and against those that remain floating on the waves like dead bodies on the inundations. That's a quote. After the inundation, that's the end of the quote or whatever. Then he goes, Jeremiah, the author, adds on, just as it was on that day when Israel saw Egyptians dead upon the seashore. So basically what he's doing is, he's showing you how in the Bible, I guess somewhere in the Bible it speaks about Hebrews being on the dead bodies on the seashore or an inundation or whatever. He's drawing a comparison between the Tefnut, which is the Kemetic version, with the Hebrew, a comparison between the Tefnut and the Kemetic version and the Hebrew version right there. So where Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand. What's the timbrel? Tambourine. The timbrel is a tambourine. When you look at a tambourine, or a matter of fact, you look at the maraca, they call maracas, and I think the Hispanic Hispanic type of instrument, but it's got the little cone thing with the stick you hold it by, with the it's got something inside it that's like little grains of metal or I don't know what the fuck or what is in it. But when you shake it, it make the little sound. That's the these right here. This is her holding And that's another thing too. The tambourine is dedicated to ISIS, or associated with ISIS. But you got the tambourines right here. But then you have this being one big tambourine with the little specks of light in it, and the or the vibration or the sound, the word, causing it to shake as it spins, and it's resembling a tambourine. You know how you shake a tambourine and it make that sound like it's a bunch of sound like little pieces of metal being shook in a, within the tambourine or whatever. But the tambourine is circle, and it has the little symbol like things on it or whatever. But okay, let me see, what was that? The sister of Aaron took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, "Sing ye to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea." Moses corresponded to honor her. He is the leader of the children of Israel during the first of the journey towards the promised land. He conducts them through the Red Sea, where Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore, through the sandy wilderness, through the waterless waste, the way of the darkness. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim. This, as we reckon, was the great battle of the autumn equinox. It was not a battle fought by human beings once for all on mundane ground, but a war between the Lord and Amalek that went on forever, from generation to generation, because it was periodic in the phenomenon of external nature, and not a duel between the Lord of heaven and the earthly potentate or people. So basically what he's trying to break down to you right here is that this battle that they were speaking on is basically what I'm showing you right here. It's metaphorical for an aspect of the creation process or whatnot. So the description of holding up the hands of Moses to maintain the equilibrium shows that the equinoctial nature of the conflict. The going forth at the equinox is further identified by the month of the year. The Jewish New Year still begins about the time of the autumn equinox, a little belated in consequence of its not having been carefully readjusted. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, "This month shall be unto you beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." This was the year that opened with and was determined by the full moon nearest to the autumn equinox. For 6 months thenceforth the moon was ruler of the year, as the great light in the darkness of the double earth. Again, at the time of the vernal equinox, there's another poising of the scales, if not a standing still of sun and moon, and another great battle in which the sun god finally overcomes the dragon of darkness and all the evil powers that war against the light of life and the welfare of the world. Also against the children of Ra on their journey as souls or manes from the lower Egypt of the mythical lamenter to the upper heaven of the Mount of Glory. The present writer has previously suggested that the name Moses, right here he spells it M-O-Y-S-E-S, or as some Hebrews pronounce it, Moshe, has derived from the dual name of Shu, one of whose name was Ma, the other Shu. And Ma Shu denotes on her, who manifest in two characters of Ma and Shu. Ma and Shu, the mother and the Shu, mother and the wind, or the air, or whatever. The darkness and the so basically that would be Shu spinning in the darkness, because the mother represents the darkness, the dark waters or whatnot. And then on the side note, Shu. See how these are shaped like shoes? This is where the shoe shit come from. Boom. As far as tennis shoes or whatever. You got angle. Light enters into the earth from different angles. We need 4 different angles.
ankles, angles of light, ankles like the back of your foot. There you go, all right there. You know what I'm saying? Then the cross breaks the 7 rings up into 4 different spaces, which will make 7, 14, 21, 28. That corresponds to the 28 days of the moon, the 28 day cycle of the moon, or whatnot. So yeah. Thou blowest the divine barge off with a favorable wind, and that name which is thine of the goddess Ma. Thus Ma, the goddess of truth, law, and justice, is here identified with Shu, in a feminine character. The feather upon her also reads both Ma and Shuma as light and Shu as shade. But after all, the origin of the name is of little importance compared with the traits of character. The female character of Mashu has also been assigned to Moses. There's a tradition reported by Sweeters that the Hebrew lawgiver and author of the Jewish law was a Hebrew woman named Musu, which is equivalent to Mashu in Egyptian. Shu is the very personification of light and shade. The name reads both light and shade. The dual character of the god is to be read in the face of Moses, who wears the glory on it when in presence of the Lord upon the mount, and who covers or shades his face when it turns to speak with the people in the valley. He likewise is the personification of light and shade. That's another thing too. When you look at when they say Moses shattered he had the two stone tablets with the 10 commandments on each one, and they say he broke them. That corresponds to when the lightning shoots out of here and shoots from this point and strikes down all the 7 mountains or whatever, or strikes the mountains or whatever. That's what that these would be the 2 tablets of that he was holding or whatever. Then they talk about the glory on the face. That's the glory. This is the face. This is the light on the face. So let me continue on here. Moses under the veil is Shu in the shade. So the light will be the veil, and the shade will be under the light. Let me see. It says Moses under the veil and Shu in the shade. Is Shu in the shade? No. Shu in the shade would be the light that's hid in the darkness or whatever. The shade would be the veil, or the darkness would be the veil of the light. So when all this shoots out, that darkness with the particles of light in it, then of course remember that even the sprinkles of light within here eventually gets covered up. That corresponds to the putting out the soot, putting out the eye of Heru. When these right here shake off the melanin clusters, and that melanin dust covers up the interior. This one right here, this one's gonna. So say when this light here shoots up out of here, all that melanin shade that's around this right here is gonna break up and fall into this pocket right here. And then each one of these, and it's gonna, the process is gonna continue on, boom, 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 and cover all that up. But so let me get back to this here. But when Moses went in before the Lord to speak with them, he took the veil off until he came out. And when he came out and spake unto them to that which was commanded, they saw the skin of Moses' face. You know what? Take that back. This might be the veil. The light might be veiling the darkness at this point. And then once it shoots out, that's taking the veil off. Yeah. When all the light retreats out here and it shoots into the darkness of space, that would be taking the veil off. I let y'all flip that around or whatever, cause it give y'all niggas a little work too. But get back to this here. And Moses put the veil up on his face again until he went and speak with him. The glory on the face of Moses is described as sending forth horns, which is a way of portraying the God provided with two horns. That is the title on her. So yeah, when all that light was down here at first and making its way to the center, pushing up, it was providing the horns, and at the same time coming up and spilling out, going into the circumference, putting the veil on. So yeah, when they say the veil, they talking about the darkness veiled by the light. But most of the time, the darkness veils the light. But you see where I'm going with it. What was it? Okay, the God provided with the two horns. That is the title on her. Moses performs the same act as Shu, the supporter of the firmament, but in the heaven with the 12 supports instead of the earlier 4 erected by Shu-Anar, which followed a readjustment that was made by the her Sishti of On in the heaven of Adam Ra. On her was the elevator and supporter of the heavens, and Shushi-Ra is the upholder of the solar disk. Moses, with his arms uplifted on the mount, or with the rod of God in his hand, is the Hebrew version of on her, the sustainer of the heavens standing on the mount. Joshua, who becomes the supporter of Iyah, the solar god, is identical with Shu when he is the son and supporter of Ra upon the horizon, east and west. Shu was the first son of Nun. It's probably a good time to pull this out real quick. Y'all got familiar with that, with the dark side, with the light. Let me put this boy here back up for y'all real quick. Like I said, I think I'm gonna redraw some of this, cause I messed this. I don't like the way that looked, but I had to make some adjustments. But I think I'm gonna redraw this. Probably make one more video with these right here, and then do a redrawing of this shit, so it could be a little bit better. I ain't the best drawer in the world, but I figure I can do it. I actually like this. I just don't like how this part here, I kind of tripped out with that. I don't like the way that look, because this supposed to connect with that, and it's supposed to be this one. This supposed to come out and shoot out to there, but I got them kind of messed up right there. But you get the picture. You can understand. Y'all know what the fuck I'm saying. I'm confident in that. Cause it's supposed to be one going all the way out connecting to there, and then this one is supposed to connect to here. But I kind of got lost right there. Or not lost, but I kind of, that shit hard. Bitch, man. But yeah, I kind of threw that one out. But you get the concept, I'm sure. So, I know, yeah, that's like but I was breaking down about, breaking down the Joshua name, Ioshua. the I, or the I, the O, and then Shu being the whirlwind within the O. I-O Shu, Shua. Shua with the A. So Shu was the first son of Noon. This represents the top part before the light flooded. Shu, or the whirlwind, was already right. That's why it says the first son of Noon. This is the dark waters of Noon right here. The first thing that was up here before the light penetrated through the bottom, when the light was down here. I got the other one out here right now. I know. When put this right here, when it was looking like this, the first thing that was up here was all blackness in the whirlwind, which was Shu. That's why they say it was the first son of the dark waters of Noon or whatnot. Hope y'all can see this shit. So I want to be clear. But yeah, when it was like this right here, the only thing that was at that top before the light was up there was Shu, the whirlwind. You can look at the whirlwind as the little white spot. That's what I was trying to convey with that. So he afterwards became, Shu was the first son of Noon, the deity of the celestial water, who was also called the father of the gods. See, and that's one thing you have to recognize when you're dealing with Egyptian thought too. You know, everything has a masculine and feminine side. So Noon, for the most part, when you hear Noon, we think of the dark waters of Noon. You think of the female aspect or whatever. But right here, speaking of it in regards to as the father. So Shu would probably be, well, actually it would be, because the activity, like I said, one of the attributes of masculinity is action, activity, motion. So you had the dark water, which had nothing but motion up there. So the motion that was up there will probably be why it would be referred to as the father or whatnot. Because generally speaking, the darkness is the mother. Noon is the mother. Noon. So that's why I said when you're dealing with comedic thought, it's some real sophisticated shit. But it's once you get to cracking the codes and you get accustomed to how they think, which is the way you used to think the way we used to think as black people. When you get your original mindset back and you become more symbol literate, you know, it all becomes fun and games then. You know, it's work, but it's fun and games too. So in the later role, Joshua becomes the upholder of Aya in his change of name, and is connected with the change in character. The name of, I'm tripping, hold up. The name of Joshua, or they got it, after the or, it's the name written in Hebrew or whatever. The name of Joshua contains the name of Aya united to a word signifying assistance or help. In the form of some Hebrew name, it denotes a lifting up and upholding, as in the Egyptian name of Shu, to uphold, which describes him in the character of the uplifter to Ra, the solar god. So in so many words, when they say his name is synonymous with the help, Shu is helping the light. Once this right here shoots up there, and then the light comes through that hole, Shu is the vacuum, or the whirlwind vacuum sucking the light up, helping it make its way up here. And then when all the process of the sun being created takes place, and it finally shoots out and is fixated where it's gonna be at, it's looked upon as helping the sun rise up the eastern horizon, rise up to the eastern horizon. The sun rises. Basically, the sun is saying that the sun rises due to Shu, the wind pushing it up above the eastern horizon or whatever. So the name of okay, we said that already. To uphold, which describes him in the character of the uplifter of Ra, the solar god. All right. This should suffice to demonstrate the identity of Joshua, the son of Nun, and a supporter of Iowa, with the firmament as an elemental power. See, so it's basically saying, you got the 4 elements: earth, wind, really 5: earth, wind, water. The earth, wind, water, fire, and ether. And ether is like a higher vibration of regular fire. Ether is like fire, but it's a high. Ether is basically the light. This light right here, before it's contained within the melanin or goes up to start being enveloped in melanin or whatever. Pure fire. Not regular fire, a high vibrational fire. A fire of a high vibration in the fire that we used to speaking on or whatever, or seeing or whatnot. So this should suffice to demonstrate the identity. Okay, we said all that. Okay, the Shu, the son of Nun and supporter of the firmament as an elemental power, was afterwards personalized as a supporter of the sun god Ra. Ra is Iowa. The character Shu became the leader of the children of Ra as Io Shua, who proclaims himself to be the supporter of the Iowa in the book of Joshua. The firmament is the Nun by name, and Shu the uplifter. And Shu the uplifter of the show. And Shu the uplifter of the firmament is called the son of Nun. The Shu in his uplifting of the firmament is the uplifter of his father. Now, to show once more how widely fragments of the Egyptian wisdom were scattered to become the later legends of many lands, a moment at the The Shu and his uplifting of the firmament is the uplift of his father. Now to the land. Now to show once more how widely fragments of the Egyptian wisdom were scattered to become the later legends of many lands, a moment at the exploits of Maui, a Polynesian form of Shu. So he's telling you that's another form of Shu right there. Maui. Shu was the son of Nu, and in Mangaya, the name of Nu is rendered by Ru. Ru is the father of Maui, and one of the exploits of Maui is to hurl his father Ru aloft, sky and all, to a tremendous height, so high indeed that the sky could never get back to the earth again. That's just the same path I was telling you about. All the light being lifted up right here, shooting up here, and then when the light comes through that hole, floods all this, then shoots out the circumference and put the stars in the solar out into the triple blackness of space or whatever. The stars don't come, those stars, the light that's shot out through the circumference and shot out to the it leaves the zodiac behind, and then the zodiac, the stars that make that's in the sky or whatever, that's the sky that never comes back to the earth or whatever. So because they're stuck in they stuck in the sky, while this this light and then the little residual light that comes back through the circumference comes back to the earth, but the stars are left out into the triple blackness of space or whatever, forming the zodiac. Nu or Nun was also the firmament upraised by Shu. Nu as firmament was personalized and Nu the father of Shu. And where Shu uplifts the sky, now personalized Maui is humorously described as assuming gigantic proportions and exerting prodigious strength to toss his father so far aloft that he was forever entangled and suspended among the stars of heaven and never could come down from again. Now that part will probably be speaking about after the sun comes from out of here, because you got to remember, even though we look at this going up as the sky, really everything outside of the earth is the sky. So when the sun comes out of here and fixed, you know, basically, you know, but like I said, it's going to be at this point, and the earth is going to push it out into that point, and then the earth is going to go into its orbit. That's the entanglement of his father within the sky, with the rest sitting in the center of the solar system. So and that's another thing too, when it said, basically what it broke down in this part was when he said the firmament is the Noon by name, and Shu the uplift of the firmament is called the sun of, no, hold on, let me see. Now I'm trying to remember my place, hold up. The Shu is his, and his uplifting of the firmament is the uplifter of his father. Now to lands a moment, now to show once more how widely fragments of the Egyptian wisdom were scattered to become the later legends of many lands. So what he's saying there is how basically the mythology of the Egyptians spread out into other lands and was scattered and was fragmented in different pieces, went into other land and took on different forms. So the deities start taking on different names. So just like originally it was Shu, and then Shu turned into Ioshua, then the Hebrews turned into Joshua. Then he's telling you how Maui is, the Polynesians call it Maui. He's basically showing you how it takes on different forms as the mythology travel through different lands or whatever. They all saying the same thing, they just using different names and different types of characters. So various legends derived from the Egyptian mythology were compounded in the Hebrew book of Exodus. One of the most remarkable of all parallels to be adduced is to be seen in the fact that in one particular type there's a blending of Shu with Horus and Horus Shuti. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I gotta pop my shit sometimes, because I'm coming out to shoot on you niggas. What's the shoot? The papyrus shoot. This is the papyrus shoot right here. The Uwadi. This is the Uwadi. Horus rises up on the papyrus shoot. And then once the process reverses and the sun comes and it comes out the center, it still rises through the shoot. The sunlight coming from the sun shoot up through this here, coming to the primal point. This is what the pyramids will be. And this is another thing too. That's the shoot right here. That's Horus coming up out of the shoot when the light shoots up here. First, it's this version of it coming up through the chute. The melanin coming down. Hope y'all can see this, but the melanin coming down, creating this. The light going up, creating this. And the sun shoots out of here, comes back down, boom, 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 comes out of there, and once the sun comes out of the earth, it still has an an entrance point where it shoots up through here. So the sun ray, the rays of light that would shoot through up here would be Horus coming through the papyrus once again. The papyrus reed. That's what they used to make paper out of in Kemet. Papyrus plants. I think they used to make bread out of it and shit too. That's why it was considered food or whatever. Just like they talk about Jesus being the bread of life. Horus one of the symbols of Horus is the shoot, or the papyrus shoot. And the Canaanites used to eat the papyrus shoot or whatever. So that's where that whole, you know, breaking up the body of Jesus and eating it and all that shit that comes from the breaking up the body of Osiris, the melanins ingesting the light. That's what the, you know what I'm saying, it ain't about sitting at the table and eating the motherfucker for real, like some motherfuckers is out here doing. But that's for another day. We'll get into that in another video. But yeah, because real spiritual motherfuckers, you don't have to do all that extra shit. Even that, I'm watermark that. Make sure I get back to that in another video, because I don't want to see how much time I got left from this one anyway. There's something left, 15 minutes. So, all right. One of the most remarkable, various legends derived from the Egyptian mythology were compounded in the Hebrew book of Exodus. So basically what he's telling you is Exodus is nothing but a remix of Kemetic mythology, Egyptian mythology, or whatever. Ain't none of that shit historical. And the shit that is that the Bible speaks on, that is actual shit that's actually happening on the earth realm, is the shit that's happening now. That shit was prophecy. See, in this book, in this book right here, what Jeremiah does is he stresses the point of how none of this shit you read in the Bible happened in the past, which he's right about. It's not historical, but it's prophetical. So a lot of this shit that I know just from my personal experience, you know, a lot of the shit that they were saying, what the fake Jews did was they tricked the world into believing Jesus was already here, Christ was already here, Moses was here. All this shit was prophecy. It was, on one hand, explaining the creation of the earth, and on the other hand, prophecy. And all them characters really are just different aspects of the Christ. Moses, Joshua, all that shit is just different aspects of Christ or whatever. That's why a lot of the stories is saying Joseph. When you start looking at a lot of that shit, is to get it's another book you want to go get Historical Jesus, Mythical Christ by Jeremiah, and he'll break that down. And get that metaphysical Bible dictionary. You'll see some shit in there. But yeah, that's the thing. That was their thing right there. Christ is here now. It's not a past thing. It ain't, when you read them Bible stories, it ain't no shit that happened back then. That's where they trick you at right there. Fuck you up, got you thinking all that shit happened in the past or whatever. But everything is everything. We rocking on it. One of the most remarkable of all parallels to be adduced is to be seen in the fact that in one particular type there is a blending of Shu with Horus, or Horus Shuti, and that is repeated in the story of Moses, who represents the deliverer as Horus in the Ark of Papyrus. It's the Ark of Papyrus right here. And it's another thing. When all that light started, when the light was down here and the dark was up here and the light went up, it turned the circle turned into a pyramid. And then when the light came back down and shot through here, this side, as above so below, turned into a pyramid. That's where you get your arrows and shit from. And this, when you read Ancient Egypt Light of the World Volume 1 and 2, you're going to come to a part where it's going to speak about how the kite was synonymous with Osiris. Why? This is the kite right here. The diamond. I ain't talking about no goddamn record label either. I'm talking about the goddamn Diamond Sutra. The diamond is the Great Pyramid. It's under the Great Pyramid, and the light within it. This the Osirian light. That's what they were talking about in on Sambo Black God of Asia when they was talking about the Diamond Sutra and all that. So yeah. And that's how the pyramids was formed. See, we try to figure out how the pyramids were built. We thinking with physical minds. The pyramids was built the same way everything else was built. Not by, it wasn't no goddamn Hebrew slaves out there building this shit. That's why people don't understand, still can't figure out how they were built, because they was built at a pre-physical time. It was built when humans were being, the bodies of humans were being made, and the bodies of animals were being fashioned, and all that shit. That's when the Great Pyramids, just like these mountains that's raising up out of here, was made and shaped and all that shit. The same thing with the Great Pyramids. You know what I'm saying? Because basically all this work is being done is work that the gods, which is us, who are now physical bodies, the physical being, we are the Titans. The title of that movie pertains to black people. How are we the Titans? Because we are made of the melanin that is the Titans, that had a light in it. So that's when the pyramids would be. That's why they don't understand, because this shit was created at a time before. We put it like this: when the gods, for lack of a better phrase, woke up after the creation process and rose up after the flood and all that, and the sun rose up and made everything come to life. The Great Pyramids and shit was already here, because we've done that before we even took on physical bodies. Even they say the Great Pyramid was once covered with white limestone, and they say that when the Arabs invaded Kemet, they took the white limestone off of the pyramid and used it to build Cairo. Now, on one hand, when I first heard that shit, I was like, them funky Arabs fucking up the Kemetic landscape. But when you look at that shit, just like top of the earth had the white dome on it, and that got blew off, the pyramid had the white limestone, and they blew that out or took that out and used it to build Cairo, according to what I read. But we know it ain't no goddamn white limestone on it now, so somebody took the shit off. And so even if they was doing it to be spiteful or just doing it for whatever reason they was doing it, they were repeating the process of what happened when the sun was blown off the moon. The white limestone being synonymous with the moon, or metaphorical corresponding to the moon. And even when you look, Hebrew and Islam is then one and the same. It's really different languages, and that's really a moon religion. That's why you see the moon and the crescent and the star and all that with them. They are a moon. That is for lack of a better way to put it, they are a moon cult, just like the Hebrews or whatever. And to take it out of the Hebrew and Arab arena, basically the New Testament would be more so of a moon book or whatever. So yeah, like I said, that's your arrow. When I was telling you about Isis, when they say she transformed herself into in this, which is the same thing, just a different name, Miriam or Tefnu, transforming into a weapon of war, shooting the arrow. That's got another goddess name, I think in Greece, called Artemis, goddess of the hunt. This is an arrow. Boom, got an arrow for that one, and boom, this is her arrow coming down. Boom, 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 and then the arrow for this one right here. Boom, boom, or whatever. So, yeah, man, let me get back to it though. Like right here it says, one of the most remarkable of all parallels to be adduced is to be seen in the fact that in one particular type there's a blending of Shu with Horus and Horus Shuti, and that this is repeated in the story of Moses, who represents the deliverer as Horus in the Ark of Papyrus, and on her in other aspects of the character. Moses is the waterborn. Josephus explains the name as signifying one who was taken out of water. Pharaoh's daughter called the name of the child Moshe and said, because I drew him out of water. So his name means being drawn out of water. Being drawn out the water. Water rising up. The light water rising up out of the darkness. Moses or Horus or Shu or whatever being drawn up out of the water, coming up there. The Ark of bulrushes and all that shit. Shu honor likewise is the waterborn. He is addressed in the magic papyrus as the unique Lord issuing from the Nu, which is the firmament of water, and from which Shu, as the breathing force, was born as the son of Nun. The growth of a legend from its source and the primitive representation or mythicizing of natural phenomena down to its becoming humanized at last biblical and historical. Hold on, let me read that again so you understand. The growth of a legend from its source and the primitive representation or mythicizing of natural phenomenon down to its becoming humanized at last as biblical and historical may be exemplified by the story of the child who was saved from the waters in a little ark of bulrush or papyrus reed. It is told of Sargon and Assyria, of Maui and New Zealand, and various other children who were drawn forth from the water at the time of their birth. It is the myth of the child Horus, first and far away the oldest in the world. So he's basically telling you that Horus is the first Christ or whatever, the first Christ story, and all the other versions of it are spin-offs of or comes from the Kemetic version of Christ. The story has to be read backwards in Hebrew a very long way before its primal meaning can be comprehended. So what it's basically telling you is, in order for you to even understand this Hebrew shit and get a clear understanding with the messages being conveyed by the Bible and all that, you have to go back and look at what the origin of these stories, which is Camite. And going back, we meet at, okay, you say the story has to be read backwards in Hebrew a very long way before its primal meaning can be comprehended. And going back, we meet at first with the child Horus floating in an ark up on the waters. The speaker in the ritual at the time of his rebirth says, I am confined in an ark like Horus, to whom his cradle was brought. The cradle is often represented as a nest or papyrus reed. The Ark of bulrushes in the biblical version. That's what I was telling y'all about a couple videos ago about the rockabye baby shit, you know what I'm saying, in the treetop. The cradle, that's the cradle. When the wind blows, the cradle will drop. When all that light goes up in here, it concentrates right here, the light coming up out of the hemisphere creates that wind or whatever that creates a gust of wind. The wind that blows all the light, when all that light comes through here, flood that, shoot out, and then shoot that up. That's the wind that's speaking of, saying when the wind blows, the cradle will drop. That wind blows, lightning strike, the thunder, and then boom, the cradle falls, or whatever. So this in its most primitive Egyptian form was the flower of the papyrus plant, or later lotus. On this child Horus is born up from the waters, which led to the Egyptian ark or boat that was made of papyrus reeds. So here go your ark right here, 2 by 2. They say Noah put the animals in the ark 2 by 2. Light